this whole project for me is just doing a lot of study around the greatest athletes, coaches, whatever it might be of all time. I was wondering how you approach studying to get better at your craft, but also figuring out what you integrate into your team.
Sure. I think it started just when I got into coaching. Number one, I read everything I could read about coaching. At the time, there wasn't an internet. So,
Any favorite books
well, my favorite book of all time about physiology is called The Science of Winning by a guy named Jan Olbrecht. It's just an amazing physiological book. It's the kind of book that I probably read 3 or 4 times, and you can only read a chapter at a time or your brain explodes. Like, you can't just sit down and go through it. You have to read one chapter a couple times and then do the next. So that's probably my favorite physiological book. My favorite book about how to live and coach people is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. That's changed my life completely. But, I started doing that. So there's that part of it. Also, when I started my career, I tried to go to work with coaches who were already extremely successful and learn how they did it. And I was lucky. I worked with 3 different Olympic coaches. I worked with a guy named Paul Bergen. I worked with David Marsh. I worked with Murray Stevens, all of whom have produced Olympic gold medals, world records, all of these things. And from each of them, when I was with them, my goal was not to do anything except learn their system. So when I was with Paul Bergen, I did everything the way he did it. And I promised that if he went out of town for 2 weeks, I could write a week of workouts and the athletes would think he had left them for them. I knew how he thought about it, all of these things. Same with David Marsh. I'd learned how he did it. Then I learned how Murray Stevens did it. And as I went through these phases, I started understanding, okay, these are the things that I really like about this thing, and I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to add this from something, I'm going to add this, And by the time I was in a position where I was running my own program, I had this information from people who were very successful that I could kind of integrate into my thing. And it just saves a lot of time. Number one, they've made a lot of mistakes. So why make my own? Well, I make plenty, right? But, it's very good to kind of be with somebody, learn what they're doing, because they've already made a lot of mistakes and you can learn from their stuff. Just take the stuff they do that they've already tested, and then you can test your own stuff. So I think that's important. Go with the best people you can be with, be their assistant, be their number 2, learn everything about what they're doing and why they're doing it, and be in the environment. And the things that I learned really from these coaches more than anything else, the X's and O's were one thing. I would sit around with these guys. I remember one time I was coaching with Paul Bergen and these other coaches came in town and we sat around a table and had some beers and talked about when to time weight training in relation to swimming for about 5 hours. That was the only topic. And why we did this and why you should do that and why you wouldn't do this and maybe you should do that. So there's that part of it. But the main thing I learned from all of these coaches, particularly David Marsh, Murray Stevens, how they ran a practice in terms of how they communicate with the athletes and how they motivated athletes to do things away from the pool, in their lives, how they got people to buy into what they're doing. All of those things are what you learn from these great coaches, is just what we've been talking about. The metaphors, and there are some things about all 3 of them I don't particularly like. Some of them were not good, a lot of them. So there were some things that I really respected about what they did. There's some things that I really didn't like about what they did. So I tried to take the good things and leave out the other stuff. And that's how you kind of develop your own perspective. At least I think your educated perspective. Since then, I don't have that opportunity now to go. So I have a lot of friends. I talk to Michael Bowl all the time. I think is the best coach in the world in swimming. And I have a lot of friends that way, and we still have these talks about the training and what should happen in this. But I try to read everything I can. Podcasts now, invaluable, I think. So, you're always trying to learn something that you can take and, if nothing else, refresh what you're doing. Just repackage it. Even if you're trying to do the same thing, make it look different. You can't do this year in, year out, the same people. Now the pros, now as pro swimmers, I'm coaching people for 10 years in a row. They can't just do the same thing for 10 years. The college team's a little better because you kind of recycle. So for most of the team, it's kind of new. But I do think you need to look outside, maybe even of swimming, I read a lot of management stuff and just psychology, all those kind of things.
Any just favorite overall books that you think are beneficial to coaches or athletes?
The Winning Edge, Bill Walsh.
It's a good one.
That's a really very good one. That really helped me. There's one, this is odd, but I read stuff like, I think it's Human Kinetics came out with this whole list of books, because there's one called the Swim Coach's Bible. I have a chapter in there, but there's one called the Football Coach's Bible. I read all those. And it was about football, which I love, just as a spectator, but also the way that they're talking about how they run the practices, the things that are important, the things they do in recruiting, all of these things. I think sports in general are kind of the same when you boil it down to the bottom line, right? I hear Steve Sarkisian talk about how he runs his team, and it's exactly how we run this team. The standard is the standard. The process is more important than the outcome. These are the things that we value, and these are the things that we are going to do every day, and that's it. So I think that you can learn a lot from other sports and coaches.
Hey, as you know, they're kind of your thing. It's kind of your MO here.